once photographed a whole theatre show. I do a lot of theatre nowadays as well. And when I'd on film, and when I'd go back into the dark room, I'd load the spools up in the dark. You've got to put the chemicals in an order. Anybody done the old photographic process? Yeah. Quite a few hands there as well, so you can relate to this. Isn't it tense? and I've just developed thousands and thousands of films, so you can get a bit blasé then, can't you? So the first chemical you put in is developer, then you put a stop bath, then you put fixer. I've done it thousands of times. Loaded 7 rolls of film, that's the whole show. Great, get the chemical, put the fixer in. Put the fixer in. No, it's not the fixer. Ruined the whole lot. And that was what it's like. So you're always thinking, no matter how, even though you've taken the shots, you're still worried, basically.
I wonder, and I am really curious about that, about how you compose an image, how you used to compose it using film, and how maybe you are blasé just about snapping now. Is there anything in that?
I take far more pictures now, and I realise that I take too many. Should really be putting the brakes on. Yeah. And a lot of students and photographers that ask me, for bits of advice, I say, well, use the camera and don't look at the back. Discipline yourself. Don't look at what you've got. Try and get the exposure right, and think about what you're taking, and look at where the light's falling, because that's how we had to do it. I'm kind of glad that I learned the old way, but having said that, I still take far too many pictures, and then the problem is editing them, because you've got like 500 photographs that you've got to edit down, and that takes a long time, So it's good to be disciplined and not take so many. No, when I was taking pictures on film, it was like I'd know how to compose it somehow, and there might be 2 or 3 different ways of composing it. So you start off with your strongest one, then if you've got time, you move the camera slightly to the left or the right and compose it slightly differently. So you're always thinking about getting variations, but always, go for your strongest idea or your strongest composition, and then afterwards go, oh, I'll just do it slightly differently. Because you never know, your subject in the picture who you're taking a portrait of might just go, okay, that's enough, or you get more likely, I would get the feeling, yeah, it's probably best to finish this. I've got enough. I don't want to push it, because you can bore people with doing too many. There used to be a photographer called Angus McBain who I met many years ago, and he's dead now, but he was a fantastic theatre photographer, and he had a really giant camera. He'd take pictures. The size of the negatives were 8 by 10 inches, and they called him One Shot because he would just take one picture and that was it. And he didn't even have to have a light meter. We used to have separate light meters that weren't built into the camera, and he would know what it was, because he was even more disciplined than we were, than I was, And basically, if you took one of those pictures now on that, the actual piece of the one piece of film cost 30 quid to buy the film and get it processed. So yeah, he had to be pretty conservative with a large C to do his trade. Yeah.
How did he come to photography? What was it that made you pick up a camera? I'm from Blackpool originally. That's where I was born and bred. I moved to Manchester later on when I was about 20, and there were lots of bands. We had a really good music scene there. It was just after the punk era, about 1978, 79, that I first picked up a camera. And my brother was in a band called the Membranes, who are a really well-known band in the Northwest, and kind of contemporaries of the Three Johns, who are from Leeds as well, and Gang of Four, and so everyone has kind of been like loved the Sex Pistols basically, and the Clash. It's one or the other, and so I was like seeing bands, and my brother asked me to photograph his band, and then other bands liked what I did, so they said, oh great, will you take some of us, you know. But interestingly enough, at the time, at the age of 14, I went deaf. I never intended to be a photographer. I was more into science. I loved biology. And at Blackpool we've got like the beaches, so I'd collect fish and sea anemones and seaweed and stuff like that. So I thought I was going to do that, you know, that's what I really wanted to do. But I went deaf through ear infection, and they couldn't rescue my hearing. So I've got like 25% hearing, and the doctor said to me, you know, you'll never be able to go swimming. I said, what do you mean? He goes, you've had these operations, and if the water goes in your ears, it then goes in your throat and you choke. I said, well, I've just qualified to get to university. And he goes, no, you can't do it. You'll never be able to go scuba diving or anything like that. So I got this place at Newcastle University, and I had to give it up and do the next best thing that I was into, which was this. I was photographing bands, so I got myself on a course and did this instead. I was really pretty much zero hearing for about 4 years while they were sorting out with this series of operations, trying to salvage what they thought they could salvage. And so I had four years of operations, which left me, it's very isolating is being deaf. You can go out, but you're still kind of alone, lonely in a crowd, really. And like, you know, my brother's friends would come up and say hi, and but I couldn't hold a conversation because lip reading is really fucking difficult. Basically, people think that if you lip read, you get the whole conversation, but you don't. You get snatches of conversation. So you're really concentrating all the time. So if I was talking to you, sir, and then somebody else over here said, added to a bit of their conversation, you've missed the first part of the sentence. So your eye moves over to them, and you've got to kind of gauge, you've got to guess what the beginning of that sentence was, and you often get it wrong, you know. So you're lip reading, and then you can't pick up the whole words either. You're kind of guessing at what words are. So after like half an hour, I'm just like knackered, absolutely tired out. So it's a real barrier to wanting to go out. It made me feel like I don't want to go out, you know, just to be with people. And it's very important, really, to be integrated, to be part of crowds of people, you know, because naturally I know that now through my experiences that that's what human beings are like, that's what human beings need. We all need to kind of go off and be on our own quite a lot, and that's another part of what many people need. But really we need to be integrated, and just people watching is very important, but interacting is very important as well. It makes us whole, you know. So I realised having 4 years of that, I missed quite a lot out, you know. I became quite nervous, and photography was kind of then a vehicle to integrating again with people, because I'm offering something I have to mix, and they liking what I'm doing, man, you know what I mean? So I'm getting this praise, I'm getting positivity, I'm getting, you know, positive strokes, and that's really good, will you do some for us? So it helped me be integrated, and it helped keep my confidence up. If I'd have just sort of shriveled, and I can see how some people will just, you know, be a deaf person and only mix with other deaf people, because only deaf people know what it's like. And that's why deaf people close off into their own groups, into their own deaf societies, and they don't often like other people, hearing people coming in, you know, because that's just the way that they feel more comfortable. I can see that. I can see why that is.
Is that one of the things that's guided you towards counselling? You know, we were chatting earlier on that you are a counsellor, aren't you?
Yeah, I think it has to, really. I think it has to have quite a big influence. I've never really analysed that, but I mean, they do say that if you're going to become a counsellor, then it's something that already, to be a good counsellor, it's already got to be within you anyway. But yeah, it's got to have had some bearing. And like the empathy,
all these things that make a good counsellor is like empathy. Unconditional positive regard is another one, and that what basically that means is that you view everybody as has a really good value, even if they're a stranger, and you don't judge people either. That's another one. The other one is honesty as well, isn't it? All these things. Authenticity, honesty. Those are the things that make a good counsellor. So for me to have this lesson in empathy that I didn't really want, but everyone's got their own shit, basically. Everyone's got their own cross to bear. Everyone's got their own baggage and thing, haven't they? Mine's deafness. And
I'll be going home and crying tonight. I'll be going home and crying tonight into my pillow about the roof that came off the garage earlier in the wind.
You have my empathy, not my sympathy. We're not supposed to give sympathy, folks.
No, absolutely.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, that's not going to help me at all. That
Won't help you at all. Oh, positive strokes.
Stop patronising me.
Bad practice, isn't it? So yeah, I had empathy, and empathy is something that can be learnt, isn't it? It can be learnt the hard way through, through pain and experience that hurts. So then, or it can be learnt by kind of looking around and making yourself aware of stuff and going, what is it really like for that deaf person to be like that, and asking questions and really being genuinely interested, and then proper listening to what they've got to say and taking it in, But putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, so empathy can be learnt. So I had a great lesson in that, didn't I? That I can use to other, if someone's blind, if someone's deaf, if someone's, taking drugs, if someone's, vulnerable. All vulnerabilities, basically.
You see, of course, I knew a little bit of the story, but I didn't know all the story. And knowing that, say something to me about these photographs, that they were taken by somebody who seemed to have the trust of the subject.
It's interesting you should say that, because 3 years ago, a book came out called Who Shot Rock and Roll, and it was curated by, put together by a woman in New York. Gail came over from New York to interview people, including myself, Kevin Cummins, and she picked the great rock and roll photographs of the past 50 years, and those of us that were still alive, she interviewed. She just chose whichever ones that she wanted. And the premise of the book is, in Who Shot Rock and Roll, the premise of the book is, what is it about that photographer that took that picture? Why? And so she was fascinated with the Kurt one.